Wait. Okay, I'm here. Evony Jenice, are you there? This is Liz Gilbert. I'm not even going to tell you what I just went through trying to make this work. Let me see how it is. Nope. I'm just literally learning how to do this live in front of you guys. This is a moment of tremendous vulnerability. Go live with Evony Jenice. Evony Jenice, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? I might have to send her a text. This has been... Guys, talk among yourselves. Good Lord, there has to be an easier way to do this. Are you guys enjoying watching me not know what I'm doing? Go live with Evony Jenice. I love you all. Can you guys stop sending me requests to go live with you? Because it's making me even more confused. There's only one person whose name I want to see on this list right this moment, and it is Evony Jenice Moore. Where is she? Oh my God, you guys. I was born in the Nixon administration. This is what I want you to know. This is all very new to me. Let's see. Go live with, nope, I still don't see her. Hang on, you guys, I gotta text her. This is life in action. Life is in action. This is what it looks. Okay, am I back? Okay, can you guys all do me a favor and not send me requests to join me live, because it's gonna make it even harder for me to do this thing, because I just want my friend Evony Jenice Moore to send me a request and nobody else. So that would be you guys helping me and loving me. Everyone just let me try to do this. Nope, please don't send me a request to be live. Anyone else except Evony Jenice Moore. Hang on, everybody. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming. I texted her. How is everyone? Oh wait, here I see it. View. It's gonna happen. Here's I did it. I did. I'm waiting for. I will be amazed if this actually works. I've never thought. Yes.
No.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Oh my God, I have flop sweat. I'm like perspiring. And thank you, Ashleigh Van Buren, who took my emergency call to help me figure out how to do this, because I have never felt more old.
I was over here doing screenshot tutorials. Now go here.
Woo, hi, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, I love you.
It's good to see your face.
It's good to see your face, too.
Well, it's good to see your face, but also we've been trying to do more face, experiences, and I hate texting. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So I love voice memos. I love video, messages. Like, I love, and the surprise of it when somebody pops into your DMs like, hey girl, it's me, or send you a text message and it's a video. Like, I love that so much. So
this is something you and I have been doing lately, which I've been getting a lot of pleasure from, is because as you said, human beings are not meant to speak with their thumbs.
It's gonna change. Like, the evolution of human beings, like the way that we use our hands will change because of how we participate with social media, with technology now. And so, yes, absolutely going to change. And I just don't know that in my lifetime, I want my thumbs to evolve to something else. Like, I just want them to do whatever they're doing right now.
Which is, for me, is mostly like eating individual kernels of popcorn. I think that's what evolution mostly developed my thumbs for. And so I love that you every once in a while will send me a little video message from bed, like, hi, I love you. I'm like, send you a little video message when I'm walking in the woods. Like, I wish you were here.
You have the best cameos, though. I'm really here in New York. It's just me and Puppy, me and my little dog. But your cameos are like little people, and like, you got the best cameos. And I never understood what was happening with those tennis shoes the other day.
I had been assigned to carry everybody's shoes on a long walk through nature, and I was like, I thought you should share this moment with me. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys for your patience with me trying to figure out how to use Instagram Live. This is the first time I've been on other people's Instagram Live feeds, but I've never done it myself. And I'm a little bit hyperventilating because I spent the morning studying how to do it, and then I still couldn't do it. But anyway, this is why we have friends like my friend Ashleigh, who reached out, and a young person. This is why, this is the most important reason to have intergenerational friendships. You need young people in your life to tell you how to use technology.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
That is a fact. So, Evony Jenice Moore, meet my everybody. Everybody meet Evony.
Hi, everybody.
Please, please, please follow her and join us in this conversation, which will be about a lot of things. But what I would love to start with is what I mentioned in my Instagram caption when I announced that we were going to be doing this. I'm so moved and inspired by the way that you live, by the stubbornness of the decisions that you've made about the quality of what your personal life is going to be, even as you work for change in the world, the way that you take care of yourself, and the way that you've expanded that into a vision that you have for a scholarship offering for women of color to, and it's got the most beautiful title. It's called Dream Yourself Free. And there's more that I could say about it, but I know that you'll say it much more beautifully, and I want everyone to know about it. And I also want everybody to donate to it. And the link is in my bio, and you can also find more about it. I'll be repeating this throughout the message, but you please let everybody know what you're up to, because it's so radiantly beautiful.
First of all, I was putting on press-on nails before you started texting me about like, and I forgot to put my last 2 press-on nails on, so I've been on here just talking with my hands, and I'm missing 2 fingernails. So yeah, my name is Evony Jenice, and I founded Dream Yourself Free a little over a year ago. The story actually is that I have been doing a lot of anti-racism education that was very stressful. I mean, of course it's stressful. And racism is stressful. Racism is literally stressing our bodies out. The ways that we're experiencing, grief in our bodies as a result of anti-Blackness, as a result of racism. And so for Black people specifically, having to educate on how to not, hate people because of their race, right? And or for Black people to be having to have these conversations, trying to prove our humanity, it felt very exhausting. And I had gotten to this place where I was just thinking, like, is this really the work that I want to do with my life? Even though this has been the work of my life. And so I'm reading Patrisse Khan-Cullors' When They Call You a Terrorist. Or I'm listening to it on audiobook, actually, and I'm walking down the street listening to it on audiobook, and it gets to the part where she's talking about being an artist, and I'm realizing for the first time, Patrisse Khan-Cullors is one of the founders of Black Lives Matter movement. I'm realizing for the first time that she's a celebrated artist. I don't know that about her prior to this, and it makes me sad to know that she's an artist, but what I know about her is her anti-racism education work, is her prison abolitionist work, that what I know about her is her resistance work. And that then makes me reflect on, myself, like, when people talk about me, is the first thing that they say about me, this is the work that she does, or do they talk about the things that feel very important to me, the stuff that I actually really want to talk about and be thinking about on a daily basis. And so I'm listening more, whatever. And she had come up with this program for her brother who has been diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic. This program where the community helps him reintegrate into society whenever he would come out of maybe like a hold for mental health or maybe even get out of jail. And I thought about that, and I was thinking about my nephews, who at the time were maybe like 9 and 7, who were in this predominantly white school in Denver, North Carolina, that wasn't able to serve them in a way that felt very violent, like just, you don't know how to serve them. Just say you can't serve them. Not even that they're bad kids. It's just that you're this predominantly white school and you have no capacity for like cultural context for their, language or the way they're being. And so they're having to show up in their bodies at school in a way that isn't authentic to them. And that even is stressful and actually traumatic. So long story short, I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh, this program that they're creating, I could create something like that for my nephews. And as soon as I think it in my mind, I'm walking down the street in Harlem. As soon as I think it in my mind, I say out loud, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to create one more program that has to exist in order for Black people to just be well, that doesn't have to exist in order for people who are not from marginalized identities to be well, right? Like my nephew's white friends get to go to school and they're being thought of. The curriculum is considering them. The rules and the policies don't ostracize them. They don't have to code switch or shift in their bodies in order to be able to exist in that space. But my nephews do. And that's not fair. And I'm tired of creating programming for like very basic humanity. And so I started asking some of my faves, like Black women doing like really profound work. If you could be doing anything, like your wildest dreams, your wildest imagination, would you be doing this work? And 99.9998% of them were like, hell no, absolutely I wouldn't be doing this work. And that was the shift for me to like, okay, I want to talk about giving Black women specifically, but giving Black women and women of color language for what it feels like to actually dream ourselves into liberation. Like, and when I say dream, I mean like little girl fantasy, imagination, supernatural visualization, dreaming. And started, creating some curriculum and workshop and some conversation and some language around what that might look like. And it is the best decision that I have made in my life to date, other than this green eyeshadow.
Well, that's also an extremely good decision. And I also just want to point out to everybody that when I knew that I was going to be talking to you this afternoon, you shamed me into putting on lipstick. Because you're so gorgeous. You sent me, I was like, send me your favorite picture and I'll put it on Instagram. And then I saw that picture. I'm like, Liz, put us some fucking lipstick. You're talking to I'm like, come on. I mean, it's just like, try, try. Anyway, so the green eyeshadow is amazing. Let's go back to Dream Yourself Free. I was so inspired when last we spoke and you told me about it and you told me about the origin story about it. And it shifted something in my way of thinking too, because I hadn't realized that by putting somebody on, even if I put them on an admiring pedestal of activist, leader, powerful woman, somebody who I listen to, teacher, even if I do it in such a way that is based in my respect and my regard and my willingness to sit at their feet, listen and do what, like go in the direction that they're instructing, I don't realize what a trap that pedestal is. And that what's happening is that once again, I'm only seeing one aspect of a human being and I'm not seeing their entire humanity. And that's why I was super excited about Dream Yourself Free. That's why I donated to it. That's why I want all of you who are following me to donate to this, so that the way I feel it to be is this, like, it's this awakening that just made me want to slap my head, where I was like, oh God, I didn't even think, and I should have, because your friend and mine, Rachel Cargill, and I talked about this last year, and we were planning to do something this spring before the world, before 2020 was like, hold my beer, let me show you what I got for you guys. But she and I had talked about she had told me that she wants to create a retreat center for women
Yeah.
of color where because it's not enough to just open up traditionally white spaces, yoga retreats, all these beautiful places that white women have always gone, spas, places of rest, places of recovery. If you send a Black body into that space,
Right. Are
then
they
it's
safe?
not necessarily a relaxing space
Hmm.
for that person. And
Yeah.
she's like, I want to create my own version of that where people can come and they can just do art, and they can have a Black yoga teacher instructing them. They can have like everything around them can be made so that they don't have to be constantly monitoring the white space and their presence in that white space. And I had never thought of that in my life. It's just on the long list of things that I've had the privilege to never have to think about. So yeah, I was so touched and moved by what you're creating. And
The thing about it, though,
yeah,
Liz Gilbert, is that so many, Dream Yourself Free almost feels like a surprise to so many of my fellow, sisters in this labor, right? It feels, I was in Paris in November, and having a conversation with some Black Parisian Muslim women about, and the one of them, like the beginning of the conversation, she was really struggling with the idea of dreaming as our resistance work. She was like, no, we gotta, this is what our elders, this is what our ancestors, this is the work that we've been doing. And, we gotta keep the fight, we gotta stay. And so I was like, let me explain it like this. Let's think of it this way. Really, really take the title of revolutionary resistance work, take that title away and just think about your grandmother as your ancestor. And so we have this language where we say, we're our ancestors' wildest dreams. And I say, I think that's very audacious. I don't think that's true. I don't think that this current version of who we are is our ancestors' wildest dreams. That's very arrogant, in fact, to assume that.
wow,
And I say that because my grandmother, absolutely, in her wildest imagination for me, didn't want me still marching to Selma.
yeah,
My grandmother, in her wildest imagination for me, didn't want me having to burn stuff down. Now, in her wildest imagination, if I had to burn it down, she was here for it. But in her wildest imagination, she didn't want me doing the same thing that her and her siblings were doing when she was growing up in Talladega, Alabama.
yeah.
So in her wildest imagination, I'm free. In her wildest imagination, I exist in ease. In her wildest imagination, there's an equitable society, right? And so I think that was in that conversation, that specific conversation. At some point, my girlfriend, my Parisian girlfriend, sat back and was like, "Whew, I just never thought about it." But for so many of us, because we grow up doing resistance work, it becomes a part of our existence because we're being aggressed against on a daily basis, or because just being Black, particularly Black in America, is hard. Being Black on this planet is hard because of global anti-Blackness. And so to stop for a second and really begin to think about what actually are our ancestors' wildest dreams for us. And then so the workshop and or the healing work that we're doing in Dream Yourself Free is creating space for us to really think about that and to think about what that looks like. So I'll give you one example of what the one section
Please.
of the
I was
workshop
going to
looks
ask
like.
you to explain it and also explain who you're working,
Yeah.
that you're
I
with.
have dope facilitators.
It's so great. Yeah. So go ahead and keep talking.
So the intro workshop, actually, because I'm hip hop womanist, and womanism is to feminism as purple is to lavender. So womanism is defined by Alice Walker. It's a 4-part definition, but it's basically Black women's deeper feminist work, and it is language that is specifically speaking to Black women, but it's in that definition. It says not a separatist except periodically for times of help. So that's what when Rachel says, can we create this space for Black women specifically? It's not because we're separatists. It's because Black women also need time to go and regroup, because white women in our DMs and or in our workspace, you know, pulling, right? We need the opportunity to take a breather and then come back and continue this work.
Yeah.
So my hip hop womanism is constantly pulling from like popular culture or hip hop culture to think about the ways that we, like, that's my sacred text in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I use the example of Solange. Solange Knowles had this album called A Seat at the Table. And A Seat at the Table was like very heavy. The album was about what it feels like to be Black in America. And there's a song on there that goes, I'm weary of the ways of the world. I'm weary of the ways of the world. I'm going to look for my body. Yeah, I'll be back like real soon. I'm going to look for my glory. Yeah, I'll be back like real soon. And so that whole album was like, whew, like just, it was a soundtrack for so many of us. Well, the very next album that came out like 2 years later by Solange, the very first song, it just repeats, saw things I imagined. I saw things I imagined. So the energy, the actual vibrational energy of these two albums are two drastically different energies.
Right.
So I'm asking the question in this introduction workshop, what did Solange do to get from being weary of the ways of the world to saw things I imagined? How did she make that transition? What happened? And so then we take the time to begin to imagine, what do we think she was doing? Because we have to use our imagination. What do we think she was doing? Some of the things we know what she was doing. You know, we know she was probably taking long vacations, taking long naps, twerking in the mirror, you know, being with her beloved, spending time with her family, creating boundaries, probably smoking some weed, you know, probably, you know, partying a lot. And then we just dig and dig and dig until we can think of just brain dumping all the things that we can imagine Solange did to get from being weary of the ways of the world to saw things I imagined. So the next portion of that then looks like, when we go down that list, are there any of these things that really resonate with us? Like, I love to dance. When is the last time I danced? And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's just like, you have this list of things that clearly led to some form of liberation for somebody. And you see the places where you identify or the things that resonate with you. And then you realize, I love to dance. I love to sing. I love laughing on the phone with my friends. I love. But I don't do those things. So that is like the very easy, before we even get to like the heavy lifting of intergenerational trauma healing and, you know, trauma in the body, right? Like just the very basic, do the things that I enjoy to do. And that is profound strategy for shifting to getting to saw things I imagine, getting from weary of the ways of the world to saw things I imagine. So the next thing that you asked me though was to share a little bit about some of the people participating. So I have, it's a 6-month intensive. The first month is Khadijah and Zakia Abdul Mateen from Unearth and Bloom. And they're intergenerational trauma. They're intergenerational healers, which means that they're doing work around actually not just healing this current generation that we're existing in, but also healing our elders, possibly doing some ancestral healing work, and doing this work so that our children, our nieces and our nephews don't have to be having these same conversations in their bodies about the way they show up in their bodies. And they're licensed mental health professionals, and they just do very beautiful, brilliant work. So that's in June, this month, when we launch this month. In July, we have JT Perry, who is a incredible, she calls herself a churchy mystic. And so Jay Perry is coming to do some ritual creation, teaching us how to create our own rituals. And you and I talked about that in the Casual podcast. Like, what are your daily rituals? Like, how do you get up every single day and begin your day? And if that looks like just jumping up and running straight to work, you're probably missing out on yourself every single day. And so we're creating rituals. We're creating like which helps us to have more spiritual tools to be able to do deep healing work whenever we need that. The next month is Mona Haidar, who is a Muslim rapper and a chaplain, and just dope. and Mona's coming to talk to us about how she uses her spirituality and her religion to actually create a more free and just, society. And so we're thinking about how we take the people that are participating, because I understand that Black women and women of color that are going to be participating in this are religion, spiritual, adjacent, even if you don't identify with a very specific religion, adjacent, because of the way that we're raised in the society.
Right.
And so we need to have those tools. We need to realize how we create from that place. And then we have Thea Monnier the next month, that's in August, who is just my partner in crime in so many ways, but she is having conversation about pleasure, which is her work. Pleasure as like,
I love what a defender of pleasure you are.
Yes.
I love what a defender of pleasure you are.
Yeah, I can't even take credit for that, because I am a Capricorn. I feel like if you know anything about Capricorns, I could just end the sentence right there. But the point is, I love, like, I'm an earth sign, and so I love a strategy, and I love, and then in comes Thea Monnier, basically like, you can enjoy this. You could slow down. I just saw a good friend of mine in the comment section say preach as soon as I said I'm a Capricorn, because she knows that she was trying to celebrate something with me last week, and we were on FaceTime, and I was like, hold on a second, I'm trying to tell you something else. Ma'am, can we celebrate this? Please slow down. So I really can be very no nonsense, like, okay, what's next? Step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So Thea has been very instrumental in really supporting me in like slowing down and being like, does this feel good to me? And then the next month we have Rachel Cargo, who is
hopefully in this audience she needs no introduction, but go right
ahead.
Yeah.
So Rachel Cargo,
I hope.
but she's coming to do a workshop on success, shifting our success in money blueprint. And I asked Rachel to do that workshop because she gave me and Dr. Jessica Clemens, a mutual friend of ours, she gave us an unofficial tutorial on like getting our success and money blueprints together a year and some change ago. At we're just supposed to be having coffee, and all of a sudden me and Jessica were both like, woo, like
we just have coffee with Rachel.
We just weren't even ready for the way she
life-changing.
My goodness, she broke down. So she's coming to do this success and money blueprint shifting workshop that's going to be game changer. And then the last month is Natalie Cook, who's an incredible filmmaker and artist and writer, and she's giving us some tools to end with in month 6, and we're going to be doing a Writing Ourselves Free workshop and just teaching us how to like use journaling as our healing tools and mechanism, and so that we don't leave without actual. And then I didn't talk about all the things that I'm doing in between there, but those are like, each month we have this guest facilitator that are like powerhouses in their industry. And in my highest imagination, we leave with such tangible, strategic, access to tools. We have something to access that will really support us onward. And then in my highest imagination for Dream Yourself Free, we start a second cohort, when that first cohort is through, and just continue to dig into the work of healing Black women and women of color in this area of like, not just always doing this resistance work, but understanding that our dreams are absolutely a part of our healing.
I love this so much. I have goosebumps. You can see that, but you've given me full body chills, and I have it's you are in my life what I call a full body yes. There's certain people who I meet. Look, it's happening again. Literally, look. Like there are people who, when I meet them, I get a full body yes, and the way that yes translates is in chills that go up my entire body, and it's
I love that.
It's just me being like,
Mm-hmm.
100% yes to this person, to
I
everything that
take
this
it.
person is and represents. And I wanted to just say to people who are just joining us, if you're just catching up, what we're talking about today is, first of all, this is Evany Jenice Moore, and what we're talking about today is this this program that she's creating, this vision that she has created, where women of color can spend a 6-month period of their lives having the, and I say luxury because it's a luxury that is so, I mean, I'm about to say is so often denied, but I'm almost going to say is always denied
Mm-hmm.
to women of color in this culture, which is to set aside six
Mm-hmm.
months of your life. All of you who read Eat, Pray, Love, and you were like, God, I wish I could go and just spend a year
Yeah.
eating and praying and loving. This is essentially what you're doing, and you're making it available to people who has been systemically denied for all time. And she's bringing in incredible teachers, leaders, visionaries, spiritual leaders, and allowing these people space in which to be able to envision and dream their lives that is not just about resistance, suffering, and struggle, but is
Mm-hmm.
also about art, about spirituality, about the health and the well-being of the body, about what do you want to do with your life if you could do anything with your life. I
Whew.
want
If
that
you could do
every single
anything.
one of
Yeah.
the people on this watching this would go to my link or go to your page, go to your link, and support this financially, because a lot of you have been at me, obviously, saying, like, as we all are, what can I do? What can I do to help? There are obviously many tentacles of directions that we can go in to help this movement right now. But this one speaks to my heart in a very intimate way, because I know from personal lived experience the enormous transformation that can happen in a woman's life when she's just given a pause and space to be able to dream herself into being.
Mm-hmm.
And you are making that space, and my hope is that all of us on this call can help you to make that space even
Mm-hmm.
bigger. So it's just so incredible, so beautiful.
Thank you. I love actually having this conversation with you about dreams because of what you said, thinking about Eat, Pray, Love, and what that um, book meant to so many of us. Which you talked about how people come up to you and like, my Eat, Pray, Love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it literally is what you said, Elizabeth Gilbert. It's I remember finishing Eat, Pray, Love and being like, what's my Eat, Pray, Love gonna be? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is that gonna look like? And I had never traveled internationally at that point. I told you this. It wasn't actually called Eat, Pray, Love. It was called Eat, Pray, Thug.
I love that more than I
Yeah,
can.
yeah. But what's that gonna be? What's that gonna look like?
Yeah.
And it was game changing for so many of us to even begin to, for so many of my friends, so many of my girlfriends, so many millennial Black women especially, to be thinking about like, oh, like if you could take an Eat, Pray, Thug trip, what would it look like? And so we were imagining like I would start at here, and then I would go here, and then I would go here, and that was game changing, because what you need to be able to actualize anything is to be able to conceive it. And it makes me think about, and I quote this all the time, it makes me think about Toni Morrison's book Beloved. There is a portion called The Clearing, where this character Baby Suggs takes all of the men and the women out into this clearing, and she's telling them, she tells the men to cry and the women to sing and the babies to laugh, and then she tells them to mix it up until at some point everybody's singing, crying, and just laid out. And at the end she's giving this little sermon to them. And what she says that feels so profound to me, particularly as it pertains to my dream work, is the only grace you can have is the grace you can imagine. And that's it. It's like at which point we begin to think about our own Eat, Pray, Love experiences, especially for those of us who had never traveled internationally or really thought like it would be the most impossible thing in the world for me to do this. And then the first time I got to Africa, to the continent of Africa, it was like, oh, I did it. Now I can imagine something even larger because I can conceive this. And so the only grace we can have is the grace we can imagine. And so you have contributed to so many of our experiences with like digging into deeper grace, because we could imagine it. I mean, Elizabeth Gilbert was out here, eating her way through one country and loving her way through
If I
another.
can
So
gain 35 pounds in 4 months, You can too.
You
All
can
you have to
too.
do is have gelato every single day.
Uh-huh.
You know what I love too, hearing in more detail. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. And for people who are just asking, it's called Dream Yourself Free. If you go to the link in my bio, there's information about it and how to donate it, and you can donate to it. And you can also go and please follow Evony Jenice, and not just this, but all of the work that she does and all of the being that she is. Please don't deny yourself that in your life. But what I wanted to say was that I was so struck. I wrote it down when you were talking about the beginning of the workshop, the beginning of the project that you're creating, when you asked the activists that you work with, when you asked all these women of color who spend their life in activism, if you could do anything with your life, is this what you would be doing? And they were all like, most of them were like, no, this is what I have to be doing. But this isn't what I want to be doing. What I want to be doing is fill in the blank: gardening, sewing, singing, writing, dancing, creating, existing. And I told you about this workshop that I teach, my Big Magic workshop. And one of the most beautiful things in it is that, and anyone who's on this, I invite you to do this. I have people write themselves a letter from their sense of enchantment. And so it's a direct letter. So my letter would begin: Dear Liz, I am your enchantment, and this is what I want to tell you. And then you let it, you just let it speak to you, and you let it tell you what it loves. You let it tell you who it loves, what it loves. When was the last time you spent time together? A lot of people, when they stand up to read the letters that they wrote to themselves from their sense of enchantment, they're weeping because their enchantment is saying, I've missed you. Like the last time we were together was 4 years ago when we went to the ocean that time. Where have you been? I want to play with you. I want to be with you. And I use the word enchantment rather than passion, because I feel like passion is a really loaded word that shames people a lot into thinking that they're not doing the right things in their lives, and just adding more pressure. But after they've written their letters of enchantment, and I say, let your enchantment just tell you what it wants to do, who it loves, what brings it to life. And so it's stuff like, I love it. I said, let your letter of enchantment tell you who it doesn't love. Like, who's the person who, when their name comes up on your phone, enchantment leaves the room? Like, who's the person, like, that's not helping you. And let enchantment say, I love these 4 people. These are whenever I'm around this person, I feel like there's magic in the air. Like, I love quiet walks in the woods. I love being with my dog. I love taking baths. I love reading books. So they write this long, long, long list, right? And then at the end of it, I say to them, what if I told you that list of things is your purpose in life?
That's real.
Like, those of you who've been looking for purpose, what if I said, there's your instructions? That's it. And I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to feel good in a culture where we have all these shortcuts to feeling good in substances and sex and commercialism. We don't know how to feel well. And that letter from enchantment is actually all the stuff that makes you feel well. And the reason that I love Dream Yourself Free, what you've created, is that it's a space where those women of color can start to have the room and the peace to be able to feel like, rather than just trying to survive, just trying to make sure that like everything that's on them, they can be like, what actually do I like doing? What do I actually like doing that makes me feel well?
That very basic thing.
That's
I really, actually, Liz, I really love supporting people. That revelation is so profound, and I can guarantee you that there are people that are watching this right now that are like, what? My purpose could just be minding my business? What? I really love minding my business. That could be my purpose, right? And so it feels so simple, but I really love supporting people and understanding how we got here. And we talked a little bit about shame, tribal shame.
Yeah.
And so what I understand is that, particularly for those of us that are in the U.S. watching this right now or having this conversation, we are living in a Christocentric society. And so understanding how both this Christocentric society that we live in has taught us humility, which literally means to to have a lower estimation of oneself. Why would you do that? Why would you have a lower estimation of yourself? That doesn't make any sense. And even as a minister, as somebody who and a theologian, as someone who's thinking about sacred text all the time, that isn't even actually, it doesn't even make sense based on what the Most High, what the Creator, what this sacred text says about you. It doesn't make sense that you would have a lower estimation of yourself. But in understanding the way that this tool has been perverted in order to support then a capitalist society, because if we have a lower estimation of ourselves, then we submit ourselves to the story that people tell us about purpose and passion, and this is what you're supposed to do, and this is what it's supposed to look like. Right. And so then you're
produce, achieve, excel, compete, dominate. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've been letting that question that you asked about how often in my life have I ever heard a woman described as like she's well rested, or
it was relaxed.
Yes, she's relaxed.
I was saying, wouldn't it be an incredible revolution if on that list of all the words that we use when we talk about women we admire, that we say badass, fierce, strong, brave, resilient, tough. Cool. I love all those words. You love all those words. What if the word relaxed was also on the list? Like, wouldn't that be
high up
something
on that list? That would be something. It would actually would be revolutionary if we were to begin
because it would be new.
Absolutely. And think about what it would produce, what that would produce, right? I think about how, like, learning how to sit down somewhere, take a break, go on a vacation, actually do nothing or do very little. My imagination is able to run wild in those moments. But when I'm constantly producing, I'm running, I'm going, I'm creating, I'm strategizing, I'm on the go, which is how we exist in this capitalist society. I never have time to get new downloads, or I never have time to play or to think about, like, what would bring me pleasure today? What would, what makes me giddy? What makes me feel grateful? Like, I never have time to think about that because I'm always so busy. And so the idea of a whole bunch of relaxed women feels like, what are we?
I just got full body chills again.
A whole crew of relaxed women. And then, honestly, on a whole other level, when I think about a nation full of relaxed Black women, woo! Particularly
that's what you have the possibility of actually
that's what
producing with this project that you're doing. Like, that's why, to me, it feels not just beautiful but truly miraculous and revolutionary. Both of those things, miraculous and revolutionary. So if you met a truly relaxed woman, wouldn't you follow her anywhere?
Girl, what I feel like my favorite people on the planet, that's a fact. My favorite people on the planet are either women who are relaxed or women who I think are somewhere chilling right now. Like, in my highest imagination, Beyonce just put on some makeup today just to make that little video for, that she had to post earlier today. And then she just went and laid back down in her, 12,000, thread cotton sheets. I don't know. Like, I just think that she's somewhere chilling, minding her business. That just seems so exciting to me, to be able to really. And then I was describing to you Michaela Angela Davis, who's is a former beauty editor of Essence magazine and is an image activist. And every time I encounter her, it feels like she's just relaxed in her body. It feels like she's just like what it feels like to be a woman. Very often, it feels like we're always sucking something in, holding something together, always,
Or the shoulders are up here in defensive fear, or
And Michaela Angela Davis looks like she walks around like this. Now, that's not what her body posture is doing, but that's just what it looks like is happening inside her. And that became a goal for me. The first time I encountered that, I was like, I want to relax in my body. I want to stop being so like trying to make sure that everything is where, you know, doing whatever. And then as a result of that, like I'm getting to that by doing deep worthiness work. And that worthiness works looks like me saying, this version of myself, not even the version of myself that I'm striving towards, because right, there are things that I'm doing. I do a squat or two every now and then. I do a crunch every now and then, right? Like I do every now and then. I do that.
I've been known to do a crunch.
I've been known to do a crunch. And so, but the version of me that has abs is not more worthy than this version of me. And I don't have to wait to get to that version of me to be worthy of whatever it is that I am calling to myself. This version of myself is. And so that also is a part of what it feels like to relax into my body. Like this is what my body is doing. And in the words of Mona Haidar, it's a good body. You know, it's a good body. So why am I, you know, putting so much pressure on myself to be this perfect version of myself when I probably would miss it anyways, because society is constantly telling me that, you know, now fix this. You got that fixed. Now fix this. Now work on this.
You would miss that perfection, of course, because it's a trap. You know, it's a trap to keep you on that treadmill. But what you would also miss is the signal from the mothership. That's what I always call it. You and I talked about this, but like the universe speaking to you, it can't find you through that tension and anxiety. So the idea of an army of relaxed Black women to me is exciting, because that's when they'll be given their instructions on what they can do, and they do it from that place of deep certainty and peace, right? Like that's where you can hear. Like if intuition is eavesdropping on the cosmic mind, you know, how can you possibly feel that intuition if you're not in a state of relaxed ease? And martial arts, I mean, I always say this, every martial artist in the world knows this. The most relaxed person in every room is the one who holds all the power, period. You know, like period, because it's when you're in a state of relaxed ease. So when you're tense, right, you're in this focused, narrowed down, where you can only see like this pinhole of the world. One of the things that you get when you can actually drop down into a nervous system relaxed state is suddenly you have 360-degree vision. So you're in a room and you can see every single play, right? You can see you can see everybody's motives, you can see everybody's hustle, you can see who's lying, you can see where there's an opening, you can see where there's never going to be an opening, you can see where it's worth it to fight, you can see where it's worth it to not, you know, and you can't do that from a state of the adrenalized high tension that most people are living in for most of their lives. So for me, it's not just about I want women to relax because I want them to chill. Cool, great, yes. I also want them to be powerful.
That's it.
And to me, the real power can only come when you're in that state of stillness. I was just talking this morning to my friend Martha Beck, and she said something so incredible. She said, every one of the wishes that you ever wish, when you talked about dreaming, like that you want these women to have to be able to dream to the real dreams of their lives. She said, every one of the dreams that you ever wanted to have come is there for you. It's being sent to you. It's being sent to you by the universe, but it can only find you at your home address, at your real home address. And your real home address is peace. So if you can get yourself into a place of that peace, all of a sudden it starts coming, you know? So that is why I love Dream Yourself Free.
That is, Elizabeth Gilbert, I say this all the time because for Black women that feel the need to code switch because society expects us to show up a certain way, that I'm understanding frequency and vibration. And so everything has a vibration. Everything, we're existing at a certain frequency. And so when I show up not sounding like myself because systematic, you know, white supremacy has created this standard where I can't look like myself. Right. I have to change my hair. I have to change my posture. I have this heavier voice. I have to talk softer so that it doesn't come across a certain way, right? I have to change so much of who I am. And the way that I understand this is that then I'm not actually vibrating at my actual frequency. So when I think about how many of us miss out on the best that exists for us, I'm not even talking about the stuff that will come up for us internally. I'm talking about like, I can't match the vibration of my beloved because my beloved has never seen me look or sound like myself because I've been so busy out here trying to fit into this system and these structures that expect me to look and sound a certain way. And so even for me, the idea of not code switching is such a profound way for us to understand what it would look like for us to really dream ourselves free. Because in my highest dream, and this is the women that we've done the workshops all last year, did these workshops, and in the highest dreams, like they're all like, yeah, I don't wanna have to, blow dry my hair out when I go to interviews so that they don't know that I got a big afro. I don't want to have to, have to dress a completely different. I don't want to have to change my voice. I don't want to have to. I had a different laugh for my white friends than I have for my black friends. I don't want to have to be doing all that adjusting. And so it feels very powerful to even think about like even the way that I'm vibrating as a result of the way that I sound, because sound, that's very easy. Like we understand, sound is vibration. So if you don't sound like yourself, if you can't even sound like yourself. And so Dream Yourself Free is also giving these women the opportunity to think about like, when is the last time I have, code switching is a pet peeve of mine. When I hear people, I call it the Bob voice. When I hear black women do their telephone Bob voice.
I was about to ask you, most of my followers are white women, so I was going to ask you to define code switching.
So code switching is a couple things. Number one, I was just talking about code switching the other day with Pete and Dix. Code switching is a couple things. Code switching is the idea that you speak a different language, and then when you're in the dominant society, you start to speak whatever that language is. So let's say your dominant language, the language of your childhood, your primary language is Spanish. Whenever you get around English-speaking people, you automatically start speaking in English. But even another level of that, though, is not just that you start speaking English. You also try to hide your accent. So you have like maybe an accent speaking English, and then you switch over to English, and then you even try to water down that accent, which is ultimately denying. Like you have to think about the ancestral energetic stuff that's happening there as well. It's like I can't even sound like my grandmother right now. I can't even call on the elders and the ancestors right now because I gotta hide, West Africa from my tongue. And so there's a lot of stuff in that. Another way that we code switch is in that what I just said, to be around a certain group of people and just not even talk. So very often and I talk about this as a justice issue, as a body ownership justice issue. As very often black women just tend to have a heavier registry, right? So I and if you heard my mom talk, like when we would go through the drive-through when I was a little girl, my mom has a very heavy voice. We go through the drive-through when I was a little girl, they'd be like, okay, pull around, sir. And my mom would be like, watch this. And we get, I'm so sorry. It's like, relax. I mean, maybe stop gendering people through the drive-through, and this wouldn't be an issue. But so because of this voice, this is the way I sound. What happens is in a lot of predominantly white spaces, especially because, and Rachel Cargle has written about this, about white fragility or white women's tears, white women's tears specifically. And so like I have had encounters where I am behaving just regular. This is how, hey, can you pass me my water? Right? That just happened. And then a couple seconds later I could say, hey, that was a microaggression. Why are you so angry?
Right.
I sound exactly the same as I sounded when I asked for you to pass me the water. But that's why it then becomes a justice issue, because it's like my voice being slightly heavier becomes aggressive automatically to white people.
That's tone policing, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And so what does it look like for me to not have to be like, I really need to talk to you about, like, I gotta be really soft and tender. When in reality, this is pretty much even what what people don't really know about me is that I'm the funniest person on the planet. It might be 2 or 3 other people funnier than me, but they don't know because this is what my humor looks like. Pretty much 24/7, like whether I'm being silly or being serious, I look like this. So if I'm saying pass me the water looking like this,
right,
and saying can you stop aggressing against me, it looks the same.
right.
You have to realize that it's not me that needs to change or shift.
Right.
It's you that needs to process the inherent, right, like bias, that makes you feel like anytime you don't get your way, now all of a sudden you can switch it on me and turn it into, oh, you're being aggressive, or you're being an angry Black woman, or,
right.
or all the stories that exist.
This seems like a good moment to remind everybody who hasn't read it to read the book White Fragility, which explains this nicely. Just be familiar with the term white fragility and look for it in yourself constantly, please. Yeah. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually, I appreciate you bringing up white fragility, because I think definitely people should read that. And then also, it's White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah.
And then also be intentional about looking to see who Robin DiAngelo was citing in her work, because, and then go read their work too, especially because Robin DiAngelo is a white woman who I can appreciate white fragility. I think it's been very profound for so many white people. But Robin DiAngelo learned at the feet of Black women and scholars. And so go learn from those people and support their work as well.
Thank you. And I felt that pause after I said it.
Yeah, I was like,
there's something to be said here.
White fragility.
That's why I got quiet.
It's been very profound for so many people. But also,
there's something
where
more.
did
Please
she get
say
that
it,
from?
Evony Jenice. Yeah. Please say it. Thank you. And now every time I will talk about that, I will make sure to make that correction. And I appreciate that. Can you tell us? Can we hear from your enchantment? If you were to read us a letter from your enchantment, what would it say about what you love, who you love, when was the last time you saw it, and what it wants more of in your life?
I feel like basically you want me to tell my business. Okay. I am going to close my eyes. Dear Evony Jenice, I love you. You are so worthy. I'm so proud of you for the intentionality at which you are yourself. That's amazing. Everybody doesn't get to be their self every day. And so I want you to celebrate more in audacious ways, in overt ways, like buying yourself things and getting champagne even though you don't really be drinking alcohol, and also resting more. And when you go to the hotel to take a break, a staycation, actually take a break and play more and ride the bike more and dance more and laugh with your nephews more and laugh with your sisters more and let the world know how funny you are more often, and play with the dog more and jump out the window on some things that you've been holding back on regarding your crush. That's it. Have a blessed day.
I have so many follow-up questions, but mostly one, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
That's that's so beautiful. Thank you for vulnerably sharing that. Do you know, it's funny when I do this work with women and I ask them to write a letter from their enchantment to themselves. It's a couple questions that I always ask afterwards. Usually, you know, like if I'm in a big room with a lot of people doing it, and I'll say, how many of your letters involved an animal, like wanting to spend more time with an animal? Every single hand in the room goes up. How many of your letters involved being outside in nature? Like hands go up. Like there's these things. How many of your letters involve water? There's something like so many times it involves being at the ocean or the river or in a bath. There's something about women's need for water, to be safe, to be held, to be weightless. And then I always ask, how many of you would need to be a millionaire to do all those things on that list? And it's none. You know, it's amazing. It's so present. It's so available. They're simple. They're the simplest things in the simplest actions in the world, but it's literally the last things we do.
And every time I come back to them, I always wonder in the moment, why did it take me so long to come back to the water or to my yoga mat or to this playtime or to this, like I always, every single time, I always wonder, like, why did it take me so long to get back here? Every time.
Evony Jenice, I forgot to do yoga for 3 years recently. I accidentally forgot for 3 years. My best friend came to visit me a couple weeks ago. Don't worry, everybody. She already had COVID, so it's cool. But she came, so she broke the quarantine to come and be with me, and she's been doing a lot of yoga. And like, I did some yoga with her one day, and I was like, I started laughing in the middle of it because I was like, I literally wrote Eat, Pray, Fucking Love, and I forgot to do yoga for 3 entire years. I'm a little bit associated with that. And I 100% forgot to do it. And I think we have these built-in forgetters, but I also think there's a huge shame component in a culture that tells you that you had best be producing, producing and achieving at producing, achieving, or serving, or helping, or being of purpose, being of passion at every single moment of the day. Of course, those simple acts of enchantment are the very last things that we do. And yet, the beautiful paradox, the irony is, when you remember to do those things, that's when your ideas come. That's when your inspiration comes. That's when all of a sudden you see the path open like an unfolding hand in front of you, and you're like, oh, that's the way I'm supposed to go, you know?
Quitting some things propelled me into my destiny.
I'm 100% pro quitting.
Like,
I have quit marriages. I have quit relationships. I have quit jobs. I have quit entire cities. I am a massive proponent of quitting.
My girlfriend, a girlfriend of mine, Catrice Mines, always says, and I don't know if this is her quote, but I'm citing her because that's where I got it from. She says, you ain't no tree, you can move. And that's it. Like, we get so rooted in like we dig our heels in. Like, this is what I'm doing. I've been doing this, or even I've been on this path for so long. I quit my dominant income about 7 years ago without what was going to be next. I was just like, I was doing contract editing for authors. I was so tired of reading bad books. I was so tired of reading. I was just like, I made an announcement one day. I was like, I literally will not read another book past October. If you wanted me to read a book of yours, you better get it in, because I will not do it anymore. And that time came. I know my family was probably looking like, girl, this was already cute. What you gonna do after you quit this? Then I really started deepening my coaching practice, because I have been coaching, but I started deepening my coaching practice. And then December 2018, I was like, Thea Monier, I was telling her something. She was like, it sounds like you need to take a break. And when we got off the phone, I was like, I don't even want to do this. And I literally, that day, December 7th, 2018, that day, I sent an email to all my clients and was like, so I'm phasing out my coaching program.
That's a much more generous way to say it than I'm quitting.
I'm phasing out my coaching program. I can give you some referrals. Thank you. God bless you.
I ended my first marriage that way. I'm phasing out this marriage.
No!
I can give you some referrals.
I can give you some referrals. No!
say, the thing is that I've talked about this with a lot of my friends. I almost feel like it's because after Eat, Pray, Love, a lot of people ask me about stuff like this. I personally would, it's so hard for me to tell people, quit your life, quit your job, you know, don't have a safety net, jump. I would never instruct somebody to do that. All I can tell, because I don't want to, because you come back at me later,
right?
Like, you made me quit, you know.
Elizabeth Gilbert told me to quit, and now I'm homeless, and she needs to feed
exactly.
me.
It's dangerous and it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that every single interesting woman I know has done that. I can't tell you to do it. I can just tell you, like, all of them. If I look at all of the women who I admire at some point in their life, every single one of them. And I love what my friend Martha Beck says. She goes, at some point, there are these moments in your life where you're standing in front of a bonfire and you simply have to jump into it. You just have to jump into it. And she said, she goes, the older I get, the more I've learned you can't really lose, because there's only two options. Either you jump into it and you find out it wasn't really that scary and it was actually warm and you're kind of like, it's okay, or you jump into it and you burn to ashes, at which point you get to be reborn as a phoenix on the other side. And that's
Either way.
I
have this very similar. A couple years ago, my sister and I were in a major transition, not together, but like at the same time in our life. Yeah. And things were falling apart, and we really needed to make some choices. Mm-hmm. And what I said to her was, it basically is like we're on very unstable ground. Yeah. And either you jump and hope to land on something that will sustain you, but that will be better than this, or you're gonna fall through these cracks either way. Either way, you need to make a choice. Are you just gonna stay in here and crumble, or are you gonna at the very least take the chance to jump and see what happens? And Nayyirah Waheed, the poet Nayyirah Waheed says, I'm not worried about the world ending. It has ended for me several times and began again. And I think about that because how many times I have completely reinvented myself. I didn't even have the same hair as I have on right now 2 days ago. I'm just constantly reinventing myself, right? How many times I have reinvented myself, and every single time, that doesn't mean that it instantly was good. It usually was not instantly good. Like the first version of it was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? But once I gave myself the opportunity to like catch up to my breathing, okay, now what's next? This is certainly better than that. Yeah. And I won't say, I love that Liz gave that disclaimer. I won't say that it was in 1 month or, you know, even sometimes in 1 year. I would honestly even say that I'm just recovering from something that happened to me 9 years ago. Just in 2020, just recovering from 2011. Along the way, though, there have been these very beautiful moments, and so I lean into my gratitude for those moments, and I just focus on them, and I call it Al Bundy syndrome. You know, you remember the show Love and Marriage? Al Bundy, yeah. He was like living on the fact that he was the quarterback of his high school football team. Uh-huh. And so I call it Al Bundy syndrome. Like sometimes you gotta grab a hold of the one thing that was good and just keep living that over and over again until you can get to that next moment.
Have I mentioned that I?
That's it. That's all I got for you. And what else? What else can you? Right now, I'm telling you, this is all I got. This is what I got. But it will sustain you. It will. If you could just lean into your gratitude for that one thing, it will sustain you until you can get to the next thing, and or until you can catch your breath and begin to imagine, okay, I got something else good in me. I know that for sure.
I can't wait to see what else you have for us in the years to come, in the months to come. And I just want to reiterate to everybody, please, those of you who have been all week saying to me, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? If you want to have a beautiful action that you can do right now that will have a ripple effect in the world in a real way in the lives of Black women, please go to the link in my bio and click on Dream Yourself Free and make a donation. Please follow Evony Jenice. She's awesome, as I don't need to tell you. That's like me. In other news, ice is cold. You now, like, you have no excuse now not to follow Evony Jenice. You know who she is.
Now that you have discovered Instagram Live,
Yes.
we need more, because you a little. I don't know if anybody ever told you can be profound every now and then, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Well, I read a lot of self-help books. I do a lot of inner work. And, what I really want to do is just share that inner work.
We need it. Listen, let me say this actually about self-help books. No. I read Big Magic. Has anybody ever called you a bitch, but in like a loving way?
Yes.
Like, bitch. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's what I want to say to you, bitch. You wrote that, girl. You wrote that. There's, especially, I'm bringing that to say one of my favorite parts is, there were the one part that really stands out to me right now. I'm thinking about when you talked about the fact that influence is not married to you, or inspiration is not married to you, that like inspiration will show up. And if you are not ready to be in a committed relationship with inspiration will be like, well, let me go over here.
I'm going to go to your neighbor's house now and see if they're available. Yeah.
That is amazing to me. And especially when I think about that would be my benediction around Dream Yourself Free. I feel like that's the reason why we need Dream Yourself Free, because how many times has inspiration showed up at one of our doors? And we were so busy doing this resistance work that we didn't have time to be in relationship with it. We didn't.
Or so busy surviving. Or so busy just surviving.
Yes. Yeah. My grandmother loved to write songs, poetry. She was a brilliant woman, and that's not what she did with her life. And I mean, she's a Black woman from Talladega, Alabama, who's the only one of her siblings that didn't have to pick cotton with her sharecropper parents because she was smart. Some arbitrary understanding of her as smart. So she got to go to school. None of her siblings did. And so when I think about how much promise and potential she had, but the fact that the world was still holding her into this container. And so she had to work, like work in a way that she didn't get the chance to like share her dreams and even think about them. And before my grandmother transitioned, in a meditation, 10 days before my grandmother transitioned, in a meditation, she visited me and said, don't be like us. Do what you say you're going to do. If you say that you're a writer, write. If you say that you're a teacher, teach. Don't wait for somebody to affirm that. And I understood everything that she meant by don't be like us. I knew what that meant. I knew what she was expressing. And I felt like it was her way of saying, getting back to our ancestors' wildest imagination, her way of saying, girl, don't let inspiration pass you by too many times. Figure out what that will look like for you to be able to be available for inspiration. And whatever that is, chase that with reckless abandon, and we'll figure out the rest on the way. And by we, I do genuinely mean my ancestors making room for me, opening doors for me. I do mean the spirit providing, the God providing for me. I do mean the universe showing up for me in literally just in audacious ways, like, girl, what else you want? And what else you want? And what else you want? And none of that would be the case if it wasn't for the fact that at some point I listened to my grandmother say, what you say? Do that. Even if you don't have a platform, even if nobody's listening, even if it's just your mama and your uncles and your sister. And I don't even think my uncles be there, but your mama and your sisters, even if that's it, do it. And the universe has conspired just because I pursued inspiration with reckless abandon. And so that's my benediction.
I pursued inspiration with reckless abandon. Everybody, do you hear that? This is what it looks like. Sorry, I just had to.
No, that's it. That's it. I genuinely feel like that is my message to people who are just trying to figure out, like, okay, and so what does dreaming, like, what does that look like? Listen, we're taking the time to do the healing work so that we can figure out what is at the very least step one. and then we're going to start walking in that direction, and we'll figure out the rest as we go. And we'll certainly make some mistakes and, you know, do some ridiculous things and end up in a relationship we didn't have any business being in.
That's
Liz,
never
Liz
happened
Gilbert
to me.
says,
What's that like? Because I don't know anything
no,
about
no,
what
no,
it's like.
no, I'm about to quote you actually. Liz Gilbert says, and even when we get out of that relationship, we can look back at it and say, good guess.
Good guess.
Good guess. Not the right guess, but good guess. I see
Good
where
guess.
you're going there.
Good guess. Good guess. I love that you brought your grandmother into this, and I love that she came to you in that meditation just so shortly before she died to pass that message along to you, and that you were generous enough to share it with us. And it just, I'm feeling that sense of chills again, of just that idea of what you said at the beginning of this conversation. You know, it's not enough to say you're living your ancestors' wildest dreams. First of all, you don't know what your ancestors' wildest dreams were.
Yeah.
And secondly, dream more wild.
Yeah.
Dream more wild. Go even farther. Don't just go even farther.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm so thrilled and excited by this. My phone is losing battery. This is part of my, I think good guess, nice try. Having been my first Instagram live, I forgot to go near an outlet and plug it in. And I also know that apparently they hang up on you after an hour. And I've also lost track of time, and I don't want this to be, artificially shut. So what I want to do is ask you, first of all, one more time to repeat to everybody, go to the link in my bio, or go to Ebony's page and the link in Evony Jenice's page and the link in her bio, and click on Dream Yourself Free or the Free People Project. Learn more about this. My dog is also barking because it's like, it's walk time. It's walk time.
It's time to go.
Learn more about this in the midst of the incredibly important activism and resistance work that we're doing. I love that we've taken a moment to talk about ways that we can help Black women, especially, carve out spaces of peace, rest, pleasure, joy, inspiration, creativity. Let us never forget that. Let us never forget that that's going to actually benefit everybody in the entire world if more of that can be done. So I want to say thank you all for joining us, and I want to say to you, Evony Jenice, I love you so much. You made me put on lipstick today. You made me learn Instagram Live today. I mean, this is like a massive big day of discovery for me.
Okay.
You are gorgeous.
For my next trick. Listen, for my next trick as we wind down, I'm going to tell you how to save this video.
Okay, I have my glasses on. I have notes for how to do Instagram Live. I was trying. I was born in the Nixon administration. You have to have mercy on me. I'm old. Okay.
I have deep grace for you, Elizabeth Gilbert.
You are so kind.
We're going to click out of this, the X in the top.
It says end?
Yep. And so once you end it.
Not yet, right, though? Not yet.
Let me give you the, I'll say end by, and then you can end. Okay. So you're going to click out of this end.
Yes.
And then when you click end, it's going to bring up this screen. And it'll tell you either delete this or you can save it. And when you get ready to save it, it'll take you to another screen. You don't need to do a fancy caption or whatever. Just save it, and it'll go to your IGTV.
Okay.
You can do it. My mom used to say, you can do it. You can do it if you put your mind to it. Buckle down, do it. I believe you got it, Liz Gilbert.
I could not believe that earlier today I was making you be my IT inside person. I was sending her these frantic texts saying, okay, there's a screenshot. What am I supposed to be? Anyway, thank you. And I wonder, before I hit that end, and I will save it, everybody. I mean, I'll certainly try. I'll certainly try. I was wondering if you, as a minister, would give us a benediction. And I would love to be, an honor to be, and I'm sure everybody would be honored to hear that. And then we'll let you have the last words.
Yes. May we be all willing to just make a good guess, walk in the direction of our passion or our dreams or whatever we're thinking of, and just fly. And bye.
And bye. And end.